Chapter 10. Lots of room. Ghost! Kay cried. She banged through the door into the kitchen. Without shedding her coat or boots, she clattered up the stairs. She burst into the bedroom where her parents were sleeping. Ghost! She cried again. She's a ghost! I know it! Her father sat up. His hair poked out in every direction, the way it always did when he slept. What? He cried. His arm reached to pull her into a tight hug. Kay, what's wrong? What is it, sweetheart? Her mother sat up, too, and laid a hand on Kay's back. Did you have a bad dream? It wasn't a dream, Kay cried. She shook herself free of her parents. She was real. She was a ghost, and she was real. But her mother was not interested in the ghost. She touched Kay's jacket, her cheeks. Kay, she cried, you're cold. You have been outside. Is something wrong? It was Elsa, standing in the doorway to the bedroom. Is she all right? And so Kay explained about waking to find the girl sitting on her bed, about following her into the woods, about the enormous tree. She wants you to see it, she said to Elsa. That's why she came to me, so I could take you to see the tree. Elsa stood very still, saying nothing. It's a special tree, Kay explained. It's a Christmas tree for you, a really beautiful one. Kay didn't know when she had begun crying again. She swiped at the tears running down her cheeks. Elsa had to believe her. She just had to. Kay could see the adults exchanging looks over her head. We know this is nonsense, the look said, but she's upset. Maybe she'll calm down if we do this thing she wants. Okay, her father said very slowly. Why don't you show us? Kay wiped away her tears. Before they left, Elsa made hot chocolate for everyone. To warm your bones, she said. While they drank it, she whipped up a coffee cake and put it into the oven. Then they put on their coats. When they stepped out onto the porch, the sun was just rising behind the trees on the hill. The slanting rays gave the fresh snow a rosy glow. That way, Kay pointed to her footprints, the ones going and the ones coming back. There were still no other prints beside them. She set out and the adults followed close behind. When Kay reached the line of trees at the edge of the clearing, she stopped and took Elsa's hand. It's right up here, she said. Elsa nodded. And so they stepped together into the clearing. Before them in the sweet morning light, the tree rose and rose and rose. Its limbs stretched out on every side. Snow lay on the branches. It's for you, Kay told her. Elsa gripped Kay's hand tightly. How did you know? She asked. This tree, this... But she said no more. I told you, Kay said. Lillian brought me here last night. She wanted... Elsa released her hand. She stepped away. Lillian? She whispered. You saw Lillian? Kay nodded. Hadn't she said the girl's name before? Maybe she hadn't. What was she wearing? Elsa cried. If you saw Lillian, tell me what she had on. A cloak, Kay answered. She was wearing a long cloak with a hood. Elsa gasped, but the question hadn't gone out of her eyes. What color? She demanded. What color was it? Kay tried hard to think. In the moonlight, nothing had any color. Everything was shades of black and white. But then she remembered that first moment. She remembered opening her eyes to find a girl sitting beside her on the bed. A light had shone from the hall and she'd been able to see color. The cloak was green, she said. It was a rich, beautiful green, just like this tree. Elsa burst into tears. Kay stood before her, silent and amazed. Had she done something wrong? Finally, Elsa explained. She told how her sister Lillian had taken her that long ago winter afternoon to cut a special tree. A spectacular one, she said. How Lillian had put her own coat on Elsa to keep her warm. How she'd finally given up and cuddled Elsa to warm her. Elsa could remember going to sleep in her sister's arms, though she didn't know until their father came that Lillian wouldn't wake again. Papa, Elsa said, had gone into town and bought the green cloak Lillian had wanted so much. They buried her in it. When I was a girl, she said, Lillian visited me every year, right around Christmas. She'd make a joke about the ugly juniper Papa always cut for the house. And then she and I would walk out together to see this tree. She tipped her head back to see the tree's tip. We'd bring strings of cranberries and popcorn to decorate it. We'd put suet and peanut butter on it for the birds. Every year she came, until I was about 13. I suppose I thought myself quite grown up that year. Too old to believe in. She shook her head. She never came again, she said. I quit visiting the tree. I thought she was the one who'd left me. No, Kay said softly. She said to tell you she's here. Elsa cried again. Only this time she was laughing too. Oh my, she said at last. I think it's time for breakfast. My coffee cake must be ready to come out of the oven. And they all started back down the hill, following the footprints once more. There were multiple prints now, jumbled and crisscrossed. The group walked in a peaceful silence. Kay knew her parents would have questions later. That was all right. She would answer them as best as she could. But as they stepped out of the tree into the bright sunshine, she had an idea. It was a perfectly wonderful idea. Elsa, she said, will you come with us to my gran's? Then she added, before Elsa had a chance to answer, she'll have a huge... Before she could say tree, she stopped herself. She didn't know what kind of tree Gran would have this year. Maybe it would be tiny. Maybe it would even be one of those artificial ones. But what did it matter? She started again. You would like my Gran, she said. I know you would. And her Christmas is always huge. There would be plenty of room for all of us. Kay glanced at her parents as she spoke. Was it all right? She knew she should have asked them first. To her relief, they were both nodding. That's a wonderful idea, her mother said. You must come. Yes, agreed Kay's father. I would love to, Elsa said, still crying, still smiling. Yes, I would love to. And Kay twirled, clapping her hands. When she had to stop her for breath, she looked back toward the woods. There, at the edge of the trees, stood a girl. She wore a green cape, as green as a pine tree, with a silvery green velvet lining. She waved to Kay. And though she was too far away to see for sure, Kay could have sworn that Lillian was crying and smiling too.